We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Folks, if you want to gift the show, you can go to fans.fm/majority/gift. We'll put it in the podcast and YouTube subscription. We really got to come up with a bit.ly for that or something. I thought I had a forward, like a majoritygift.com or something like that. But we'll put a link in there. Let's read some IMs, shall we? Wallace and Gromit fan 24/7. Okay. Tim Walz did an interview for New Yorker with David Remnick over the weekend where he said he may run for president in 2028. If he's our only candidate running on universal health care, which he spoke about in his interview with Molly Jong-Foss, he may be our guy. I mean, the beauty of somebody coming out and saying that early, too, is just that it sort of like gives time for people to realize, like, oh, he can't be the only one for that. I'm going to be up for that.
I mean, I think that's something we were saying this. Maybe it was with Heather on Friday, which is just like him planting that marker is important. And if he wants to kind of rebrand from being associated with that campaign, he should join Bernie on that tour and talk about it.
It's like the way Zoran's rent freeze has basically pulled the field for the New York mayoral to the left.
And look at what Cynthia Nixon did to what's-his-face, to Cuomo.
Yeah, and I saw, like, even if, like, we played that on Thursday, the clip of all the candidates and who said yes to the rent freeze and who didn't. Even if you don't believe it, it's also really dumb politics to deny it outright, frankly, because it's catching on, and he is the one, Zoran, who's most associated with it. And like the thing with Bill de Blasio, give like a broad agenda item to people that alleviates their circumstances. A universal pre-K with de Blasio, and then with Zoran, this rent freeze thing.
Mind Pillow guy, up and coming leftist Twitch streamer Hassan Piker has apparently just been banned from Twitch. Banned?
That is insane, if that's true.
I can't believe it.
I saw Denham's tweet about that. I don't know how permanent. I don't think it's permanent, I imagine.
Okay.
Probably use the word cracker again.
We have him come on and say cracker again on this program. Jarek, well, the guest said something critical about China, so now a small part of your audience are complaining about him in chat and calling him a China hawk. Why is it some parts of the left are unwilling to accept that China does some bad things and does things for self-motivated reasons like every other country? Well, I would suggest that, like, in any group of people, there will always be things where people disagree and whatnot. So like, to make it as if it's something endemic in the left that there are, I think it's silly.
To me, it feels like the Ron Paul sign example that you give, where everybody that's wants to be like loud about this kind of thing, they're also going to be the most online about it. But it's grounding when you have conversations with people in the real world where that's, it's not the same thing.
Maddie?
Generally, it's not bad to be a little bit skeptical of claims made about nations that were in great power rivalries with, but obviously I like Van's analysis.
Matty Moron, I would contest slightly that China hasn't been investing resources into improving labor and consumption conditions. It just doesn't look exactly like Western social democracy, largely because of the vastly different starting conditions. But they just spent a decade doing massive social investment in their poorest regions and populations. And over the past several years, it introduced significant reforms to housing, healthcare, and education to bring down prices and eject rentiers from those markets. He's definitely right that labor, discipline, and regime in China is a function of its position within the global division of labor, but I think the situation policy-wise in the past decade and a half has been more nuanced.
I mean, they're definitely trying to encourage more consumption. I mean, one of the things they're doing recently is trying to get older Chinese people to, like, they're basically setting up trains, because they've been building trains like crazy for the past 20 years that help like old people tour the country and spend all the money they're sitting on. It's a pretty strikingly different approach than ours, which is just figuring out how to gamble it out of people's pockets.
God, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would just spend my retirement years just riding around in a train. People do that on the cruises.
And we got planes crashing over here.
Yeah.
Edward Gregorian, Sam's Bay, Lynn Cheney, is getting paid $151,000 from University of Alaska Anchorage for a speaking fee. A one-off? Holy shit.
She's doing a husky sled up there, though, so it's pretty expensive.
All for being completely deranged in every other way except for just
I can't get over that. $151,000 for one speech?
Talk about how they're killing babies after birth.
Yeah.
Bumbler.
Democracy.
Sam, when is your Jubilee? The channel's just posting weird class war shit this week. Supposedly, it's the March 13th, but I don't know. I was supposed to hear from
It's
something.
mothballed.
That's odd.
Leck it up. Not Matt advertising his lewds on the show. 1996 Samuel, I'm meeting Andy Dick for lunch today. He says he loves you and you're so smart. Anything you'd like me to pass along? Say hello to Andy. I haven't seen him in at least a decade or two. Tell him I say hi. Progressive Blob 2028. I canceled all my spending last month to find waste, fraud, and abuse in my budget. I have since renewed my Majority Report, Bad Hasbro, and RM Brown memberships because those were mistakes. Can't seem to get my car or bedroom back. My cat is also very hungry and misses her litter box. But seriously, I only subscribe directly to creators nowadays. All subs to big tech mass media are paid communally because F them. Punch Drunk Pulpit, More Perfect Union just put out a great video on the harmful effects and larger scam of sports betting.
We'll check that out for tomorrow.
Speaking of scams, let's check in on Joe Rogan hosting his, I don't know, fourth tech billionaire of the month. Well, it's like Andreessen, he's had all of them on, right? Sachs, Andreessen, Zuckerberg. Did Peter Thiel show up, or is he too shy?
We should call him Nation State Media from now on.
Teal was just on Rube, and
Exactly.
I forced myself to watch that.
It is, I think, impressive that Joe Rogan is able to have such consequential people on and feel such a small obligation to have even the remotest clue of what he's talking about. I haven't watched the whole 3 hours. It's unlikely I will. This part about Social Security, I should just tell you that Social Security has existed every day that Joe Rogan has been alive. In fact, it predates him probably by 30 years at least. It is one of the largest expenditures that our government is involved in. Now, it is self-funding. Taxes go directly to Social Security. They fund Social Security. There's been so much written about Social Security over the past 90 years. So much written by Republicans, because they have been attacking Social Security since 1936. I think it was the 1936 Republican platform where they attacked Social Security as a scheme that is unsustainable and as communism. What Joe Rogan is participating now is just out and out Republican propaganda.
Yep.
It is not new or hip or fresh. It doesn't require the world's greatest mind to figure out.
Unafraid.
It's not like George Bush said this stuff. Like Bob Dole said this stuff. Like the most banal Republican politicians ever have said exactly what Elon Musk is about to say. The most pea-brained people in the world, like this is so unexceptional. And the only thing that's amazing about it is that someone with who gets millions of views on YouTube or Spotify or whatever it is wouldn't know the least bit about what they're talking about to even attempt to go and find out. So here's Elon Musk lying about Social Security. Now remember, they have begun their assault on the Social Security Administration. They have shut down field offices. They are firing people. This is Americans. I think it's the most beloved government program. 60, 70, 80% of people are in favor of Social Security. I think even for expanding it.
Keeps 2/3 of our seniors out of poverty.
2/3 of our seniors out of poverty. It also helps orphans and widowers and widows. Here is Elon Musk. Now, remember, the way that they're going to go after Social Security is first, they're going to try and sever the relationship with Americans to it. And there's two ways they do it. One is they attack the Social Security Administration, make it harder for people to get their checks. And two is to say, like, it's not even, it's about to fall apart. This is George Bush going down to the bottom of Treasury, holding up a piece of paper and going, look, nothing but IOUs here. This is so banal and stupid. But here it is, Elon Musk.
The weird one is the pump and dumps. Like people
happen all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And people get shocked that somebody pump and dumped. Like, what are you doing? I was hoping to dump. I was hoping to make all the money out of this. I can't believe they got me. Like,
yeah.
It's just weird that it's legal still.
Pause it. Okay, they're talking about, I think, like meme coins, right? Is that what they're talking about here?
Yeah, like
now,
the Trump and Melania.
It is weird that it's legal.
Yeah.
Because it's illegal to do it with stocks. And to the extent that these crypto guys want to bring this into the fold, guys like Gary Gensler and other regulators wanted to bring it within a regulatory framework to protect people from it. But the guy sitting across from Joe Rogan, as he says, it's weird. It's not, it's like literally staring at the reason why.
Right.
It's not illegal. Like all of the people that you've hosted on your show, not only could they have told you why it's not illegal now, they were the reason for it.
Donald Trump
They
announcing.
bought their election.
Yes.
They bought Sherrod Brown's seat in Ohio. I mean, the crypto boy, he's so very close to knowing the answer, but it's so far away.
The Melania coin was a pump and dump that was created on January 19th, the day before the election. And you know who was behind that same coin? The same guys that were behind the Javier Milei pump and dump as a part of the using his platform as the leader of Argentina to make a bunch of money for a few wealthy people by announcing it publicly, right? So this is the kind of thing that they're trying to copy for the federal government. And then he's claiming, like, it's Musk and those guys and Andreessen, et cetera.
In fact,
Trump just
there was a pump and dump yesterday that happened when Donald Trump tweeted out, you should buy David Sachs's ETF of 5 crypto coins. He had David Sachs on too, didn't he? Okay, good.
It's just weird that it's legal still.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I mean, casinos are legal.
Yeah,
and
it is
people
like a
just
casino.
lose money at casinos.
Yeah,
you know?
regular.
But you can't rig a casino.
Pause
like
it.
a
You know
pump
what's
and dump.
amazing about that is that like Rogan doesn't realize he's making Musk uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because Musk knows exactly why it's not illegal. In fact, he just spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get Donald Trump elected. There were hundreds of millions of dollars spent by crypto people to make sure that it's not illegal. So he talks about casinos. Actually, you know, there's regulations in casinos too. Just go back a little.
Pretty actually strict of when you can build a casino.
Right.
I mean, casinos are legal.
Yeah,
and
it is
people
like a
just
casino.
lose money at casinos.
Yeah. But you can't rig a casino like a pump and dump. You could rig a pump and dump. You know?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, I'm sorry, really quick. Don't take it down, but the house always wins is a phrase about the casino. So, okay, keep going.
Well, yeah, but at least you know that going in. Like you can read what the odds are. We know that craps are, 49% or whatever it is. But what's amazing here is that, like, literally, it would be like Rogan sitting across from this guy. Keep it up. Rogan sitting across from this guy going like, who's making all these Teslas?
Yeah.
And
Self-driving cars all over the place. Shouldn't be
Elon
legal.
Musk is just sitting there going like, oh, how can I change the subject from this?
There's a Daytona 500.
Does he know that? Like, Musk is like thinking to himself, is Rogan this stupid or is he playing with me? And he's about to find out, oh no, he's this stupid. Let me distract you. This is like literally like, honestly, what you do with like a 3-year-old child. I want that candy. Oh, look it over there. It's a birdie. Can you see the birdie? Birdie? Go ahead.
Like you could run a real pyramid scheme.
Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well.
Oh, change the topic.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Oh, so when people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately, but the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. So you're paying with
Retirement career?
you're paying like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue.
Raise taxes.
Far. Have you ever looked at the
Okay, pause it. I need to stop you here because, I mean, this guy, it's unbelievable. I stutter. I say and And this guy can't even get out the basic premise of what he's trying to talk about, which of course is also a lie. Yeah. First of all, what makes a Ponzi scheme is that you're pretending to make investments. And instead of actually making investments, you're paying out people from the new investors you're taking in. Now, at one point, somebody's going to get wise to this, because if all the people say, hey, I want my money out now, you're in big trouble. And that's what your prerogative. That's what happened to Madoff. That's what happened to Sam Israel. I mean, this is what happens with Ponzi schemes. Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme, because there are very clear times when you can take your money out. You need to be with near retirement age, near full retirement age, early retirement age, or late retirement age. And we will never run out of, this is not an investment, it's insurance. Insurance also the same thing, right? Like
right.
It's similar dynamic. We will never run out of people paying into the system unless there's some type of like nuclear event or like space invaders come down and eliminate everybody, because the law is that you've got to keep paying into the system until you get to retirement age. And now he's going into, well, there's all these unfunded liabilities. In other words, if all these people, who are alive today, born just in this moment, turn 65, it's going to be 67 now for anybody born today, certainly. It's 67 for me. Turn 67, we don't have the money to pay them out. Now, right now, in fact, the way that the system works, we have a slush fund called the trust fund that was designed in 1983 to deal with the baby boomers. And then everybody gets paid out 83 to 85%. That's an intermediate assessment, right? There's a, things could be much better. Things could be worse. That's the middle assessment. And this is going to end in 2035, that trust fund. But what he's describing is even more dire for every other thing in our budget. Because today is March 3rd. On March 15th, you know how much of the Defense Department is funded? Zero. Do you know how much the FBI is funded? Zero. The USDA, zero. The EPA, zero. None of it. There is no budget for any of it.
And that doesn't mean they are Ponzi schemes.
No.
They are not Ponzi schemes. We anticipate that Congress, at one point, the Republicans will get their act together and be able to pass a budget, or even just like say, we're just going to keep using the old budget from last year until we come up with a new one. Social Security is, in fact, the most funded liability that we have associated with our government whatsoever. As of March 17th, there are $0 budgeted for our defense. I mean, if everybody believed that was the case, we were running around, oh my God, we're going to be attacked by Mexico. It's going to invade us. Canada, they've been setting the groundwork. They've been booing our anthem. They're signaling they're going to cross the border. I mean, no one's doing that because, of course, we know that that Congress will budget it. Congress has the ability to raise taxes and lower taxes, and they could easily raise the tax on Social Security. It wouldn't affect anybody. Here's the thing. It wouldn't affect anybody making less than $176,000.
Yep.
Because you are already paying that tax. It would only affect people making more than $176,000. Maybe, based upon whose idea it has, it wouldn't affect anybody making less than $400,000. And they could just, tomorrow, we're just going to create that donut hole, or we're just going to blow out the cap, and then all of this is just nonsense, what he's saying.
Right. And then you could essentially not have to worry about any of that. But it's a part of mandatory spending. We already have the mechanism via the payroll tax to fund all of this. So unless he's saying that we're going to just completely obliterate the way we've been doing taxation under Social Security for almost 100 years, or I guess also Medicare is a part of it as well, right? Then that would be like the dire circumstances that he's described. But as long as we still have the payroll tax, it's going to be funded. You'll still get over 80% of your benefits. He's creating this kind of anxiety, and Republicans have always been doing this because they don't want to raise taxes on the wealthy. This could be solved, and we could even increase benefits under Social Security if we obliterated the cap.
Yep.
So
no cuts. Four words: no cuts, raise taxes. That's all it
Right.
is.
Far. Have you ever looked at the debt clock?
Yes.
Okay. There's our present day debt, but then there's our future obligations. So when you look at the future obligations of Social Security, the actual national debt is like double what people think it is because of the future obligations.
So stupid.
So basically, people are living way longer than expected.
All right, pause it. Wait a second. Okay. So he's just shifted now. He just shifted dramatically.
yeah.
If you have a car payment, if anybody listening to me has a car payment, has a mortgage, has a credit card bill, has even, let's say, you get cable television, or you have a subscription to Hulu, you have unfunded liabilities in the future. That means that you owe this money. You have a mortgage. You owe that money. But you say, well, I have a job. On one hand, you have all these liabilities facing you. I owe $150,000 on my mortgage. Oh my God. Oh my God. I owe $150,000 on my mortgage. But the good news is I will keep my job. And I will pay that mortgage. When Musk says there are unfunded liabilities, twice the size of the debt clock, he is not acknowledging that on the other side is all of the American workers who will be paying in to the
Right.
the Social Security system. He's ignoring that because he just got caught trying to change the subject from why don't we have regulations on crypto, and then when he sees that Rogan is sitting there going like, wait a second, what does that mean?
Making
There's
weird
all this
noises.
unfunded. So go back a little bit. You'll see that he then changes tact and says, oh, people are living longer. You know who else has figured out that people are living longer? The actuaries who work at the Social Security Administration. In fact, they knew back in 1983 that there was a baby boom. And there was going to be more people retiring. And they can look at all the data. You don't have to be a magical genius to say people are living longer. And also, to be clear, people in the top 50 percentile of income distribution are living longer. People in the bottom 50 percentile are living barely longer.
Right. And notice how, though, like they both, he talks essentially about how Social Security, it's in trouble, and that's why we have to do all of this. Okay, here's like the simple reason: you can raise taxes. Oh, well, no, it's a Ponzi scheme then. So they both insist on how important Social Security is, but also how we basically
How precarious it is.
how precarious it is at the same time. you could just do the simple solution if you really cared about it, but that's not what he cares about. He cares about getting rich.
So when you look at the future obligations of Social Security, the actual national debt is like double what people think it is because of the future obligations. So basically, people are living way longer than expected.
People are living way longer than expected?
There are fewer babies
Excuse me,
being born.
what? What?
It's those 150
What? What? Expected when? Expected in the 700s? Like, you telling me that people didn't anticipate people would be living longer? Isn't the whole
life
point of
expectancy went
society? Isn't that the point of all of society that we've anticipating? Like, if anything, we have underestimated how life expectancy hasn't been shared across the board. I mean, this is one of the most obvious things in the world. If we have better hygiene, better medicine, better nutrition, life expectancy will continue. Better medicine to deal with things. Like, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard anybody assert who has the ability to show up at a location on time. Now, maybe he was late to this interview and maybe he needed a driver and he has a handler to do this. But this guy, it's unbelievable. Like, you can't even come up with a good fake argument. Nobody expected longevity, like people to live longer.
Again, our life expectancy fell.
And aside from the fact that our life expectancy has fallen. Now, I don't know if it's fallen since the age of 65. In other words, you can measure life expectancy at the time of birth, which often is problematic. It's a lot of times like, now life expectancy at the time of birth has actually gone down a little bit because of these abortion bans. We're finding that more children are born who have no ability to actually live past a few hours, past a few weeks. And then we also seeing an uptick in people die in their 20s and 30s and 40s because of suicide, because of violence, because of opioids. Now, if you get to 65, those numbers go up again for people who have not had to work in physical labor for the most part in their life. But so everything he's saying is just absolute gobbledygook. There's been to opine on this stuff and to have had zero intellectual curiosity, and even with his horrible agenda, to have not done even enough work to tell a good lie about it is just sad. Go back a little bit.
The actual national debt is like double what people think it is because of the future obligations. So
We need to pull that.
basically, people are living way longer than expected, and there are fewer babies being born. So you have more people who are retired and get that live for a
Okay,
long time
now he's talking
and get
about worker to retiree ratio. Now, here's the thing. When it started, it was like 450 workers to one retiree.
Right.
Now, guess why that might be? Because you just instituted the program. So let's look at 1975, for instance. It was like 3.5 workers to every retiree. And now it's 2.5. What has happened during that time is the productivity of workers has increased. So the output that they're doing has increased and they've paid more into Social Security. The difference is, however, from the 1980s to now, is that wealth inequality has expanded. So when you have a cap and you just limit the Social Security taxes to the first 176, it goes up. The first 176,000 that is earned, there are people who are so wealthy that they are hoarding like measurable percentages of all the wealth that is earned, all the wages that are earned in this country, and they're hoarding that money, and that money is no longer touched by the Social Security tax. So if you had 10 people and they're all making $176,000, all of that money would be taxed. But if you have one person who's making $5 million and one person who's making 176 in a room or 150 in a room, and the rest are making $5,000. All of a sudden, only the 176 plus the 8 people making $5,000 gets taxed. And the guy who's got 5 million, his 176 is taxed, but then the rest of the money is outside of that taxation. So as a percentage, we used to, in this country, tax about 91% of the income, wages earned in this country were subject to Social Security tax. But now only 86% are. That's why we need to blow out the cap. But here he is talking about worker to retiree ratio. Again, such a basic concept that the actuaries at the Social Security Administration have been dealing with this for years and years and years and years and years, well before Elon Musk was even sadly born.
In apartheid South Africa.
In apartheid.
And there are fewer babies being born. So you have more people who are retired and that live for a long time and get retirement payments. So the future obligation. So however bad the financial situation is right now for the federal government, it will be much worse in the future. At the risk of being a buzzkill here.
Positive. Also, at the risk of being a buzzkill, I know I keep interrupting, but the law in this country is that Social Security cannot add to the deficit. It cannot add to the deficit or the debt. There is not $1 associated with the operating deficit of this country. The deficit is the shortfall on a yearly basis between what comes in and what gets expended, or the debt, which is the loans that we take to finance that annual deficit. Not $1 of that is attributed to Social Security.
It's the Al Gore lockbox.
Social Security,
right.
It's been raided. The government has borrowed from Social Security Trust Fund, and they don't want to pay it back. At least the ones who want to give tax cuts. But Social Security operates almost in parallel to the rest of the government. The wages that are pulled, the taxes that are pulled for Social Security go to fund Social Security. Now, again, you can raise those taxes, but the general fund and Social Security does not commingle. So he's lying. Go ahead.
At the risk of being a buzzkill here.
Did you see...
So we better fix what we got right now, because if it's bad now, it's going to be much worse in the future.
There was an interview with this woman who was a whistleblower.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out if that was true?
There's so many whistles being blown. It's hard to keep track.
A lot of whistles. But this one lady...
It was only in one state. It was very specific instance,
Right,
I believe.
but it was using Social Security money, correct? That was her.
I don't know.
That was her allegation. So what she was alleging was that she was in charge of turning illegal immigrants into clients. That's what they would call them, and that she would go to them and try to ask them, "Do you have a headache? Do you have back problems? If you do, now you can be permanently disabled. You get permanent disability, so you get Social Security for life."
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just Social Security, but disability, which is even more.
Right, and you get them on the taxpayer dole right away the moment, and they're illegal aliens.
Yes. Oh, so if I were to say, like, what's at the heart of this?
Pause it. I mean, this is just absurd. Anybody, if you know anybody on disability, you ask them what the process was like to get on disability. It took them months and months and months and months and months and documents and documents and documents and doctor's visits and testimony. I mean, it is so difficult to get on Social Security disability. This is Rogan's, there are kids with cat litter who are identifying as cats, so they got to put cat litter in the classroom story.
Yeah.
In fact, right now, the DHS is going to the IRS and trying to get tax information on people who pay taxes. Now, this is woefully illegal. The IRS does not share any of this information. In fact, part of the reason is just sheer privacy for everybody. But part of it is, if you are an undocumented immigrant in this country, the IRS says you are still obligated to pay taxes on what you earn.
They do.
And on their website, they will say to undocumented immigrants, we will not share your information with anybody. We want the taxes. right? This is the same thing they got Al Capone on. We want your taxes. You're going to pay your taxes. And because we're going to fund the government, we want as much tax revenue as we can get. And DHS is going to them to try and get the names of these people who have been paying taxes. Now, aside from the fact that they suspect these people are undocumented, they're just going after Hispanic sounding names. So there's some profiling there. They obviously don't know which of those 700,000 are undocumented. Some may be, some may not be. Aside from what it means in terms of privacy for everybody, we want those tax dollars, and we will never get them in the future if the IRS gives up this information to DHS, because it won't be worth it for these people in the future. In fact, a lot of these undocumented immigrants, they pay their taxes because they hope someday they can prove that they have been a benefit to our society. They don't get the benefits, but they are paying into the system.
You know how much it is? There was a group that analyzed it, $25.7 billion in 2022, which was the last batch of data that they were able to look at. Social Security benefits extracted from people who are undocumented, which essentially means that like of 11 million people contributing $25.7 billion in Social Security taxes going towards that fund that they will never see, most likely, if like the Trump administration gets their way and they're not able to become full citizens. So.
Good.
Like, why is the Democrat propaganda machine so fired up to destroy me? That's the main reason.
Just lied about Social Security.
The main reason is that entitlements fraud. That includes like Social Security, disability, Medicaid. Entitlements fraud for illegal aliens is what is serving as a gigantic magnetic force to pull people in from all around the world and keep them here. Like basically, if you pay people at a standard of living that is above 90% of Earth, then you have a very powerful incentive for 90% of Earth to come here and to stay here. But if you
pause it for a second, there is not. I mean,
it's not pull.
First of all, there's so much stupidity and lies here. It's hard to sort of parse which is which.
And hypocrisy. I mean, Washington Post reported November 1st, WAPO, Elon Musk worked illegally in U.S.
Okay. I mean, putting that aside, like, because it's not about this one bigoted South African former undocumented, or he would call illegal immigrant. You would never get Social Security payments without paying into it. Never, ever. You're not in the system. How could you possibly? This one story that Joe Rogan heard that he's not sure is true about this one woman in some place in America who was actually like seeking out for some reason to give undocumented immigrants, doesn't mean you can vote, incidentally, too. It's just like, I've just decided to go out willy-nilly, didn't risk my job to give money to people who aren't in the system already. We also know that in terms of Medicaid and Medicare fraud, it is the providers, not the recipients. All the fraud they found, and they find fraud every year because there's investigators, although they're getting fired by Elon Musk, is from providers, doctors, hospitals, ambulance companies, medical device makers, insurance company, whoever.
Hey, ask Rick Scott about that.
Exactly. It is like the idea that there is some huge draw to get on Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid for undocumented immigrants. The idea that they're getting on this without paying into it is just absurd.
We have people that, like, this country does not have a robust social safety net. Like, I don't know what else I can say to this billionaire who has never wanted for anything in his life, even as a child, and now is trying to lecture us about our threadbare social safety net. There are many other countries that immigrants could go to if they wanted, say, universal health care coverage or something like that. that would provide them with better benefits than we have here. But we just said the data. They pay billions and billions of dollars into a system that never pays out for them. But apparently there's an anecdote that Rogan may or may have not heard that Elon Musk says is endemic to the program.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And to stay here. But if you end the illegal alien fraud, then you turn off that magnet, and they leave. And they stop coming, and the ones that are here, many of them will simply leave. And if that happens, they will lose a massive number of Democratic voters.
And if it didn't happen,
So, okay,
they
I'm
would turn
sorry.
those people-
Apparently, immigrants who have undocumented status can vote. The 11 million people that he's saying, they're going to risk getting deported to vote. They're also going to risk going and saying, hey, I'm a Social Security beneficiary, even though I don't have a documented status. They're both doing those two things. That is just, both of those are patently false. And this is one of the biggest podcasts in the country. Like, it's slipping now because he's so stale and not everybody's into billionaire PR hour as their podcast, like, of choice.
Billionaire Power 3 hours. So.
Right. But, the fact that he's now had multiple billionaires on here to say this kind of crap unchecked, this is the kind of thing that we should be regulating. Like, this should not be allowed to go unchecked. There's a corporate responsibility here. Spotify. I'm sorry, but there are repercussions when you say verifiably, or there used to be more, but there's verifiably false information on television is regulated. This is crazy. This is now happening over and over again, and it's there to launder just like this project that's designed to immiserate us all, and people are buying into it.
Click on this link. This is the policy dealing with non-citizen disability claims. Non-citizen is not an undocumented immigrant. It is, in fact, a documented immigrant. You go down, a medical determination not required, a medical determination is required. Those are the different situations. This is a non-citizen filing for SSI disability. They have to be age 65 years or older. They have to be lawfully residing in the U.S. on or prior to 8/22/96. They have to be, at the time of application, a qualified non-citizen. That means they must have a green card or a visa or whatever it is. They must meet an exception condition for a qualified non-citizen, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we don't need to see any more of this. The bottom line is like, I don't know if, I mean, they will use that idea, like, here it is, here's the proof, non-citizen getting this. Well, they have visa. I went to Australia after college, traveled around. I had an ear condition. I went in, and guess what? I saw a doctor multiple times. Each time it was like $10. And I'm like, what's going on here? It was nuts. It was nuts. You just go in, you just pay $10. There's no filling out forms or any of that other stuff.
Yeah.
It was just crazy.
I talked about this before, but 6 years ago, I was with somebody who had to spend the night overnight in a Parisian hospital. And we were ready to leave at like 10 a.m. the next morning, waiting for where do we sign a check or something or scan our card. And they're like, no, you can just go. And it was different in Spain. I think there's a smaller fee for a hospital visit. But yeah, it's civilization where you're not indebted brutally because you needed healthcare.
I mean, it's just shocking how much lies get put out there. And here's the kicker. These guys are also so just like juvenile. Like, I mean, if what we just saw wasn't enough proof that these people have like some type of a mental issue and they're just living in their billionaire bubbles. This is Elon Musk and Joe Rogan at the billionaire bootlicking 3-hour exercise.
She knows me too well. I'm so predictable. Tell me what's in Fort Knox.
What's in?
Dogs?
Wait, no. What's in Fort Knox?
Oh, God.
What's in 4 dogs?
You're clearly a genius AI. I said, what is in Fort Knox? You know the gold and all?
Oh, right, Fort Knox. I thought you were talking about my dogs for a second there.
Yeah, she doesn't want to answer the question.
This
She's
is
clever.
Musk's AI on his phone, right? Is this Grok?
No, she's just a pain in my ass.
Do you think that all the gold is in Fort Knox?
Do I think all the gold is in Fort Knox? Are
Yes.
you a fucking conspiracy theorist?
Yes. Yes.
Honestly, like this is like when Saul has his friend over and they talk into Siri.
Poop,
Fart, yeah.
fart.
Well, I mean, yes, he is a conspiracy theorist. It's his profession.
The AI said fuck.
It's really amazing.
How old are they?
It's really amazing.
How much of the country's economic priorities do they determine?
Exactly.
I mean,
All
even,
the world's ketamine and blow going to good use there, folks.
even Rogan was like, man. Okay.
So I said dogs because I can't talk.
Let's just play this from the other day about the Zelensky thing. I mean, this just shows you like how this was such a hit job. Do you remember the video of Elon Musk at the cabinet meeting?
Oh yeah, wearing his stupid
He was wearing a tech support T-shirt
and a hat
and a sport coat
and a very fitted pea coat.
yeah.
Oddly fitted.
This is how you know this was a setup at the White House, because Brian Glenn of Right Side Broadcasting Network was there at that press conference where J.D. Vance decided to get all tough.
Oh yeah, he brought him out of his closet so that he can be Donald Trump's, backup, basically, right? Because Trump didn't want to kick this off, yelling at Zelensky. But as soon as JD got it going, Trump couldn't help himself and joined in.
I think that was the plan. I mean, I think like it's always better to have your second, initiate.
Was JD there with Macron?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why. Like, he was grabbing my knee, so I need JD there. And if Zelensky tries to grab my knee, but I think this was all sort of like a show. To publicly humiliate Zelensky for their right-wing base on behalf of Russia or whatever it is. So Vance does this, and then they have their plant from Right Side Broadcasting Network ask Zelensky a question, which is like, again, I know we live in an age where people are morons, but these guys are propagandists. But Elon Musk was in a cabinet meeting delivering a report on Doge, which he does not run and he has no affiliation with, incidentally.
That's what his lawyers are arguing.
It's just the problem was that the woman who did run it was on vacation, weirdly enough, at the beginning of her job. He has this question to ask Zelensky.
My second question for President Zelensky. Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit.
Look at Rubio.
Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting
I don't have
the
such.
office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something like this?
something like
Yes,
yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for.
It was really just
Now, like,
classless.
That's Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend.
Oh right.
oh, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. That's beautiful.
Oh God.
Does anybody know why Zelensky does not wear a suit? I mean, putting any type of like judgment or your personal sense of Zelensky or Ukraine or the war. I mean, does anybody know why he doesn't wear a suit? It is the same reason why Winston Churchill did not wear a suit when he came to Washington, D.C. in asking for assistance in the war against Germany. He is wearing like one of those one-piece things that I think a British airman wore. The idea is you wear an outfit like that is reminiscent of what the soldiers wear. You don't want to wear a uniform because you're the president, or in this case, the prime minister, when it was Churchill, and you don't want perhaps to sort of like conflate civilian. You want to make sure it's still civilian leadership of the military, although, Hitler wore a uniform. But you don't do that, but you do want to honor the fact that your people are in a time of war. And so you dress in a sort of like a garb that says like you're ready to fight as an honor to the people who are actually doing the fighting when your country, in this instance, is invaded by Russia.
That must be what Fetterman's doing for his country, Israel.
Exactly.
Also, I saw an article. There's a spending on men's suits basically collapsed from £500 million in 2017 to about 270 million pounds last year, which is
well, yeah, that was COVID, yeah.
But like also, they're forgetting that Zelenskyy is also somebody who came from an entertainment background and was a comedian prior to this. Like, he's able to respond and be quick on his feet, and it didn't look good. Like, none of this, I know this was a stunt for their base, but the more I sat with it, they looked like the bullies that they are. It was pathetic to watch that. And like, they bring in their Marjorie Taylor Greene's boo in. That's like the reporter that they replaced the Associated Press with or whatever. I don't know. I don't know who this plays with. I think it's a good thing for Zelenskyy. I think it makes him look like he's standing up for the Ukrainian people, which he was there. But for Trump, I mean, this is the same thing he's been since 2020, since January 6th. He's been in this hermetically sealed, like, right side broadcasting OANN media bubble where I don't think he can see what plays to the general public anymore. He has no tether to like an Ivanka liberal, New York City kind of energy anymore. I don't know. It just feels like he's Fox News grandpa, and that's where his brain will be for the rest of his life. Although,
if you look at like the New York Times, they talk about a shouting match that took place in the White House, and there was no shouting match.
People, that's what was reported when we hadn't seen that clip, and that's what I thought we were going to see. But no, it was just a berating of him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go to the IMs.
Elon Musk should have to drug test, though.
That is a great idea, but he won't.
The head of Doge should have to be drug tested.
He won't. And I guarantee you would fail. And not just in ketamine. Future Reactionary sent an email with a screenshot of Sam's Piers Morgan show appearance thumbnail wherein Sam had been cropped out, shadow banned again. Do we have time to play that? Let's play it tomorrow.
Which one?
The Piers Morgan stuff?
Yeah, let's maybe tomorrow.
Should we do I want to do that Bill Maher one too.
Yeah. I mean,
let's talk about the crypto. You want to talk about the crypto?
A little, yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Go ahead. You take the lead. You've been reading into this.
Oh, yes. So this is just truly insane. On Sunday, I guess it was, Donald Trump truthed out of social. And he said that the United States is basically looking into a strategic crypto reserve was the claim. He's bandied about this idea of,
which means that we will buy
a bunch of crypto
and keep it in reserve in the same way that we have a gold reserve. That was at a time when we had we pegged the dollar to gold, or a petroleum reserve, which we keep in the event that we need oil. And Biden actually, to his credit, used that petroleum reserve in a way that we've never used before, where he actually flooded the market at one point and drove down the prices and broke, in many respects, OPEC's pricing ability. But a crypto reserve, what would we need that for? Who would possibly benefit from such a thing? If someone was to come in and buy up all the crypto. Listen, this is the way you can imagine it. Like, let's say people were really excited about wheat pennies. I'm on that right now. And there was only so many wheat pennies that were put out. Wheat pennies were pennies that I think were produced before 1960.
Right.
And it didn't have the Lincoln Memorial on the back. It had like a little wheat. And some of these are really valuable because the collectors. What if we had a wheat penny reserve where somebody was to buy up all the wheat pennies, not all of them, but enough, it would pump the value of everything else. And it would maintain it because you can't, there's a limited amount of that stuff.
Yeah, the government is basically artificially inflating cryptocurrency, at least in this theory.
At a time when it's collapsing.
Right. But on January 20th, Bitcoin was at its highest point ever after crypto was, it looks like it could go away right after the FTX collapse. It was like, if there's another Democratic administration, they continue to make sure that, like, you know, they're cracking down in the way that Gensler was on cryptocurrency. Perhaps this could just be like a bit of a fad and go away. But Donald Trump we don't really, I think, know the extent of the scheme that he's in right now. But we do know that there was a Melania and Trump coin that was created before the inauguration, when I mentioned that Bitcoin was at its highest point, that a few people had. It was sold really quickly. People got rich quick. The Melania coin was also linked to this another company, I guess. It wasn't Libra, was the other coin. Oh, Solana is the name. But Trump specifically had named that in his Truth Social post yesterday as well. Solana was responsible for the coin in Argentina that Milei was implicated in terms of a pump and dump. So it looks like this like crypto and narco-capitalist vision that's taken root in Argentina, which is essentially just scamming people and plunging everybody into poverty. Over 53% of people in Argentina are in poverty now, is making its way into the White House. So Bitcoin was at its highest point around the inauguration. The people that benefit from this are the folks that got in really early and hold a lot of it. But hours before Trump announced this potential crypto strategic reserve, someone bought $200 million in Ethereum and Bitcoin. This is Ben Norton put this together. 24 hours ago, someone took 200,000 or 200 million. Did I say 200,000? It was 200 million. 200 million? Okay. 200 million worth of Ethereum and Bitcoin longs on 50 times leverage. This meant that even a 2% drop in Bitcoin would liquidate $200 million. So 24 hours before Trump made this announcement, somebody bought that much in terms of longs, meaning Sam helped explain this to me. It's the opposite of a short, betting that the price is going to go up. So either way, it's like a very sure thing bet where it's not buying that amount of cryptocurrency of Bitcoin.
It's not necessarily a sure thing. You got to, because if it goes down.
But if you have inside knowledge that Trump is going to announce that we're going to put a bunch of government investment into raising the floor for cryptocurrency and making it a bit more stable, well, there you go. So the theory about this, I think, that people need to be exploring a little bit more is, what deal did Donald Trump do with these crypto guys before the election? Elon Musk being involved is really important, I think. I think clearly Trump is financially tied to Musk. But there's also the David Sacks of the world. There's also Mark Andreessen.
The crypto people just poured money into his campaign.
Yeah.
Now take a look at these charts. This is what, like, Joe Rogan was just talking about pump and dump with Elon Musk. No, that's the 1 day chart. Well, look at the 5 day chart.
Yeah.
Just click 5.
Or even one.
Whoa! Look at that. That is called a hockey stick, ladies and gentlemen.
Go to that.
That goes way up there. Go to
March 2nd.
Go back to where that it bumps up.
The big rise.
Yeah.
Where does it start to rise?
Yeah, Bradley, just go back one more day. There, go back. Yes.
Start of the rise.
Yeah. Okay. 85,000, and it bumps up to 95,000
within 3 hours.
within 3 hours. So what we have is a classic pump and dump. And he'll probably do this a bunch more times. Like, why wouldn't you? You just keep like
easy money
gassing
from
it.
idiots.
And for that 200 million, what happens is it goes up. It's up for a day or two at 95,000. That 200 million, who knows what that long was? It could have been at 87, 85. Turn around and all of a sudden, you just turn around, you sell it at whatever it is we promised it at. I'll sell it to you at this amount, and you pocket the delta
And
between where it's at and what you sold it at.
And can you just show the Trump Truth Social here at the bottom almost? Because he didn't initially say Bitcoin, right? He had to add this because he got pushback from other crypto people that hold a lot of Bitcoin. So then he adds later, and obviously BTC and ETH and other valuable cryptocurrencies will be at the heart of reserve. Also love Bitcoin and Ethereum, but the ones that he had listed were more specific.
What the hell?
The SOL is what I just referred to, the Solana, which is being linked to, it's hard to track, but journalists crypto writers have been saying it's more than likely that Solana was behind both the Melania meme coin and the scheme that happened down in Argentina. So this is as naked as it could possibly be. And like with Trump's obsession with McKinley, which we still have to explore a little bit, and the Gilded Age, and he's bandied about stuff about how he thinks we should return to the gold standard before. I think that this is his incorporation of his kind of like, tariff heavy, Gilded Age vision of his second term, which involves kind of pegging the U.S. financial system to a reserve of something that he holds a lot of, more than likely, and all his friends do now. So it's like a cryptocurrency kind of gold standard vision, even though that's as insane as it could possibly be.
It's nice that you think I have a vision, but I'd like to make money in any way I can and sell off the government. This is an extraction play. Poor Emma thinks I have a vision. I do. I have a vision of me being much richer.
Much richer.
So sorry. So sorry to let you down. You thought I had a plan. The plan is make more money.
Fair enough.
And never go to jail. Because I can't break the law now.
Thank you, Supreme Court. Because this is an official act. Him creating a crypto reserve it's an official act as president. So who cares? Doesn't matter.
If it's a conflict of interest, it's impossible because whatever I do as president, if it conflicts with my personal interests, I'm doing it as president. So it's legal. If the president does it, it can't be a crime.
God.
Yep.
We should pray that he's Nixon. He's way worse.
He's way worse. He's way worse.
Way worse.
All right, let's do some IMs and get out of here. Kyle from the Shire. I just wanted to share something for those who think they can't affect change in their community. There's a local right-wing nightcrawler going around filming police interactions. He's also trying to affect local politics by running for select board. I did a video on him working with the police. This inspired other people to look into him. And a newspaper did a deeper dive on him working with the police after public records requests. Link to the articles from the video description. It's entitled Planet Hank Exposed on the Kyle from the Shire channel. Folks, check that out. That's awesome.
Oh, by the way, per newswire_US, leftist streamer Hassan Piker appears banned from Twitch after saying, quote, "If you cared about Medicare fraud, you would kill Rick Scott."
Okay.
Jeez.
Just reporting the news.
How do you get banned from that?
I mean,
it's a joke.
It's just a joke.
It's just a joke.
First of all, it's also it's completely nonsensical because you'd have to go back in time to prevent Rick Scott from committing Medicare fraud.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do a post talk or after the fact.
But it wouldn't
Example
stop.
setting.
Oh, you do it as a punishment.
Set an example,
I'm not
yeah.
for capital punishment.
No,
So
exactly. That's the one thing I have wrong with that.
90-cent percent oats. Great. Sherrod Brown article in the New Republic today calls on Democrats to be the Workers' Party again. Do you think he would run for Vance's seat? Maybe.
Oh.
I really hope Vivek does not win that seat. Come on, Ohio. We might need to do an Ohio live show.
I think Sherrod Brown is like more than likely going to run again in 2026 for that. Like that's what the rumor is. But if not, Tim Ryan, I think is like plan B. And either of them, I know Tim Ryan's not as good, but either of them have significant name recognition. And 26 is going to be a tough year for Republicans if this keeps it up.
Profile redefinement. Damn it, you got me. I accidentally bought a liquid IV at a gas station. It was delicious and made me feel good, so I bought a bunch more using the discount code. Leftist is Bashtish.
Nice.
Tim Orth, congrats to No Other Land on winning the Academy Award yesterday.
Yes.
Yes. Edward Gregorian, who dusted off their Cuomo sexual sweatshirt today? LOL, go Hassan. Ginger Squatch. 12 minutes into the show, I already know I waited until after to watch the RM Brown videos to cheer me up. I should have waited till after the RM Brown. I see.
That's how I improve my mood too. RM Brown, the little piano.
MJS. Hey, Sam, read a book, dude. And now I want to draw your attention to the book I'm very proud of reading, even if it's only tangentially related to the topic we were discussing and doesn't actually bolster my argument in any conceivable way. Thank you, Jillian. That's a reference to the Piers Morgan thing I did with the woman from The Biggest Loser. I didn't know. I'm seeing a lot of fatalism online around elections and the idea there won't be any more. I agree that Trump will lie, cheat, steal, outright ban elections if he could, but I'm not willing to grant he has the power or ability to stop elections. Yes, recent developments are frightening, change in policy towards Russia cyber attacks. And I think his goal is to be POTUS for life, but outright corruption of elections seems a little far-fetched even for Trump. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm not ruling it
I
out.
would have a better sense of that after the midterm elections.
Yeah.
I think if the Democrats don't take control of the House in the midterm elections, I think we're in pretty rough shape because if the Republicans, they will be disciplined by Elon Musk. They will, some of them will feel like I'm going into a meat grinder because I have no choice. If I don't do what the president wants me to do, I'm going to get torn up by Musk's money on the primary side. And I'm worried about going into a meat grinder in the general election. If that meat grinder in the general election does not show up, they're going to feel like their incentive structure is going to be go in one direction only.
Also, protest his businesses because the more that his stock prices tank on those, the worse position he'll be in personally.
It's a 5-seat majority for the Republicans. The Democrats do better in off-year elections. This is very much within reach, but I'm not ready to rule out Trump and the Republicans trying to rig the presidential election in 2028. I've seen
they did it in 2000. They always try it. Yeah.
I've seen it way too many times. And January 6th, like his lesson is, I got away with that now. So,
Andrew Cuomo, what is old is new again. I will save the city from the barbaric homeless problem that is destroying our streets. Catcalling will no longer be considered offensive. In fact, it's anti-Italian to be against catcalling women.
Thank you, Cuomo.
Midwest Ranch. Remember this guy said, I am a woman. I am Jewish. I am black. I am, we gotta pull all this stuff back up. We honestly, I want to have like 5 minutes of anti-Cuomo stuff every day until the election. People have to be reminded about how just horrid this guy is. Evan from Portland. I'm a volunteer union organizer. Before Trump, my events would have had 30 people. Now we get 100 to 200 easily. Brooklyn Best. The Democrats won't save us. Indeed. Kowalski from Nebraska. If you keep pointing out to Trump voters that Donald Trump and Elon Musk have fired more veterans than any other presidential administration in history, so more veterans will be out on the streets, cold, sick, and dying a lot of times. They can't come up with a rebuttal, and in person it pisses people off. Not towards you at pointing out, but that is happening.
That's a good
class
line of
consciousness
attack.
is coming.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like that first video we played, second video we played up top of the show.
I think that's when he wrote it. The looming tariffs with Canada and Mexico have sent grain prices to lows we haven't seen since harvest, when you would expect prices to be at the lowest because of the glut in supply. In anticipation of spring, we usually see oil prices go up as construction begins to fire up around the country. Oil prices have been going down steadily over the last few weeks. We are likely nearing a full-blown recession.
Well, that's what the Atlanta Fed says.
Yeah,
so.
it's going to be bad.
Graham Page, show us the cat. Show us the cat.
Is there a cat? Did Van have a cat?
Sam's new cat.
Oh, right.
It's half mine. We split custody. I'm not even joking. Sam's tortured analogies. All election security safeguards are being eliminated. Meaningful elections may have already been a thing of the past. I mean, we'll see. Anonymous, a geopolitical gangbang. I'm not sure what that was about. Teacher Dan, wouldn't you think that if the Democratic Party establishment can activate all of its icons and the mainstream media against Bernie Sanders, that these same folks could be out raising the alarm regarding what Republicans are up to? I would think that for the, I don't know what icons mean, but the media, Bernie Sanders represents the same threat to the media as he does to anybody else who has moneyed interests.
Yep.
Maybe more so. So no, Bernie Sanders is a much easier target. With that said, I don't think the Democrats are doing nearly enough. I mean, we just played that clip yesterday, or I guess a Friday, of what's his face, Hakeem Jeffries, where even Rachel Maddow got him defensive.
I mean, the way that all the tech CEOs lined up behind them, it's not just tech CEOs. There is, among the very rich in this country, they are aligned with what the Republicans are doing right now. That's why it's continuing to happen.
It almost feels as if the entire establishment plan is that Carvel let Americans suffer until they are finally ready to just settle for the crumbs Democratic establishment offers. I mean, I don't think they would put it that way, but I would think certainly, I think their feeling for a lot of the leadership is, don't get in the way of Donald Trump upsetting people.
Don't get in the way of Boris Johnson, and Keir Starmer will win an election in 4 years.
Should we expect more or just blame TYT and wait? Well, I would say, A, we should expect more. B, I think actually some of the stuff that TYT is doing is really harmful. I mean, obviously not across the spectrum. Their audience is, is limited and shrinking. But to the extent that they have an audience or people watching, I think what they're doing is harmful. And no, I don't think we should wait. You should listen to the program more, and you would see that we're encouraging people to organize and to go out. It's very helpful, I think, to go to these town halls when you can. I think.
Yeah. And even protests, too. It just gives you a sense of, like, it's a way to put your energy towards something where you're in the streets and you're with like-minded people, as opposed to, like, we're so atomized, particularly after the pandemic, where it's like if you're organizing your apartment building or you're out in the streets protesting Trump or for Palestine, these are ways where you can put your energy towards something.
Labor and tenant organizing, and make it a headache to visit a Tesla leadership with everybody else that's joining.
And sorry, one more point I just wanted to make. Also, I think John Oliver made this point. Federal workers, they have said off the record in other instances that when you see folks in the streets, it makes them more emboldened to resist from within. So you give people confidence by showing resistance yourself, and we try to do that with the show.
100%.
But when you're protesting too, you allow for those people to do the work that we need to be done to slow this roll of fascism internally.
I mean, I think, who knows if it will work or not.
Yeah.
But
the best chance we have.
But it's really, there's not a lot of options on the table right now. And kudos, I'll mention this tomorrow because I know, I got a message from our folks at sunsetlakesebade.com. They are Vermonters. Kudos to all the people who coordinated up in Vermont to chase J.D. Vance out of his ski trip.
Where was he skiing?
Where was it? Was it Sugarbush?
Killington?
No, I don't think it was. Was it Killington? I used to go to all these things as a kid.
I'm curious.
And Sugarbush was the.
I was on the
was
Sugarbush on the T-bar.
slope there.
This is now 50 years ago. Literally 50 years ago. Maybe 52. My mom was on the T-bar with me, and she crossed my skis, and I went slamming into the metal. Like, it's a different thing, and I had like a black and blue all the way down my body.
Is that why you only snowboard now? Also,
I mean, I snowboard now because I also lost this tooth from
skiing.
Skiing at Mount. Is it not Mount? Ward Hill in Worcester.
Those T-Bird lifts are not.
I can't imagine.
I don't think they
that
even
lift
exist anymore.
Doesn't even exist anymore. Anonymous. The Zelenskyy Oval Office meeting was a geopolitical game. There we go. I see what you're saying. 5 more. Oh, geez. No, 5 more. Hack all things. Maybe if Sam said poggers enough, the Twitch fairy will unban Hassan faster. Poggers, poggers, poggers. Commie tree. When the fun half consists of World War II scenarios, 3 scenarios, sets a really low bar for the fun half. 2 more. Hyper left Voiter. Looks like Musk is coming around with another round of what did you do last week? Had a friend post a screenshot of the email in our chat. Sounds like another opportunity for send another email. Oh, yes. I forgot to mention that. Will you remind me to say this tomorrow? He sent out another letter, but there's a new email, folks. It's now HR3 at opm.gov. Apparently, the HR at opm.gov got too slammed. Then HR2 at opm.gov got slammed. So now they're up to HR3 at opm.gov. That's according to some of our friends who work for the federal government who have emailed us.
The unelected career bureaucrats that we're defending.
Edward the Black. What evidence do you have that congressional Democrats are against what Doge is doing? I don't have, to be honest with you, I don't even have evidence that any of these people are real. I've only seen them on the TV. So they could also be holograms. So I can't provide you evidence for anything. I can provide you evidence that they would not have done this because they didn't.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I would also say 80 plus lawsuits that are ongoing right now.
Yeah.
I don't know who you think are putting those on.
Democrats are horrible, but we also don't need to make up things that, I don't
it's
know.
just like a dumb comment.
This is so extreme.
There's a certain type of person who's very sort of satisfied by balancing the scales and saying, actually, there's no consequence for any election outcome. Yeah. Like, I fully think that there's plenty of Democrats who are not going to fight it very well because they're rich people that put them in office don't care. But as far as do they want all of this USAID stuff cut? No, they voted in the first place. And even more
importantly, the people who would vote them into power don't want it. Right. So they could never do it.
Yeah.
They could never do it. You've never seen a Democratic debate where they talk about eliminating 3 agencies like you did in 2008.
Right. When Perry couldn't remember the third.
On some level, honestly, I try and not have a cynicism towards people like you but on some level, that feels like you're trying to make yourself feel better about decisions that you've made in the past about how bad could it get. And now you've retreated to okay, well, it's clearly worse. But now you've retreated to, how do you know? How can you prove the counterfactual that if Democrats weren't in office right now, that Kamala Harris wouldn't have Mark Cuban going around doing Doge? I mean,
Yeah.
You're living in a fantasy world and you're trying to help yourself. Just live with what you did. You won. You won. You got what you wanted. It was a sugar bush, I guess. All right. And let's see. One final IM of the day. Northwest Charter. I can say for sure that Ward Hill still existed in 2018. Well, that's good to know. All right, folks. Matt, Bradley, Emma, great job today, folks. See you tomorrow.